Resuming debate. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Human Resources.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I'm pleased to rise today to speak on our Conservative Government's Economic Action Plan 2012, Jobs Growth and Long-Term Prosperity. In March, the Minister of Finance introduced our government's pragmatic and prudent vision for the future of Canadians, one that looks forward to not only the next few years, but also to the next generation. Since 2006, our government has worked to build a strong economic foundation for Canadians. While the effects of the economic downturn of 2008 were felt in the homes and businesses across the country, it was through the steady leadership of the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, as well as the rest of our Conservative government, that ensured the Canadian economy emerged from the recession well ahead of every major developed economy in the world. We have delivered for Canadians, and our strong record speaks for itself. The creation of over 700,000 net new jobs since July of 2009, a 3.9% increase in a year-over-year growth in manufacturing output, a reduction for personal income taxes and cuts to the GST, income splitting for seniors' pensions, the creation of the landmark tax-free savings account, and lower taxes on Canadian businesses, with Canadians having the lowest tax rate on new business investments among major advanced economies. Our banking system is regarded as the most stable in the world. Our net-to-GDP ratio remains the lowest in the G7. The OECD and IMF predict Canada's economy to be one of the international leaders over the coming years. Mr. Speaker, when you sift through the partisan rhetoric and inaccurate numbers and figures thrown about by the opposition colleagues, our government's strong economic record is laid to bear. While there is work to be done going forward, Canadians voiced confidence in the direction that we've taken when they voted for a strong, stable, Conservative majority government in May 2011, ultimately providing us with the mandate to continue our pragmatic economic agenda. During the election, we committed to remain focused on job creation and economic growth, and with Economic Action Plan 2012, we're doing just that. We're continuing our job creation agenda, and we're focused on the long-term prosperity of the Canadian economy for all Canadians. As a country, however, we must remain cognizant of the many challenges and uncertainties that are still confronting the Canadian economy. The recovery is not complete, and too many Canadians are still looking for work. One only needs to look to the recent elections in Europe to recognize that the global economy still remains fragile. Canada does not want to become the next Greece or Ireland. Canadian businesses face increasing competition from countries with emerging fast-growth economies, and our aging population will put pressures on public finances and social programs. Economic Action Plan 2012 takes important steps to highlight these structural challenges and ensuring that the changing demographics do not harm Canada's public finances and social programs for the future. My constituents in Simcoe-Grey elected me to be a strong voice here in Ottawa for them, to ensure that I work to bring jobs to our riding, to ensure that our government creates a climate where businesses can thrive without the burden of bureaucratic red tape, to ensure that our seniors are taken care of so they can receive the respect that they've earned through their decades of contribution to our country, to ensure that our agricultural sector is supported in a manner that allows them to grow and be profitable, and to ensure that our healthcare system is protected by continuing our government's stable healthcare funding to the provinces. My constituents don't want government handouts or a government that throws money at the creation of more bureaucracy. They want a government that will lower taxes and create a pro-business environment while continuing to support Canadians by maintaining transfers for healthcare, education and social programs to the provinces. This is the surest way to create jobs and stimulate economic growth, and they represent the fundamentals of our Conservative economic approach. This is why what our government campaigned on. This is the economic agenda that I promoted in my riding in Simcoe-Grey, and this is what our Conservative government has delivered on in Economic Action Plan 2012. Our government is committed to sustainable social programs and the secure retirement of all Canadians, now and for future generations. The facts on OAS are clear. The number of Canadians over the age of 65 will increase from 4.7 million to 9.3 million over the next 20 years. The OAS program was built when Canadians were not living the longer, healthier lives they are today. Consequently, the cost of OAS will increase from $36 billion per year in 2010 to $108 billion in 2030. Meanwhile, by 2030, the number of taxpayers for every senior will come down to 2, down from the 7 in the 1970s and from 4 in 2010. In order to ensure the sustainability of OAS, the age of eligibility will gradually be raised to 67, starting in 2023 and fully implemented in 2029. We've ensured that the changes that are being made have substantial notice and an adjustment period. These changes will not affect current retirees and those close to retirement, and they will give people plenty of time to adjust to the changes and plan for their own retirement. Our changes will ensure OAS is put on a sustainable path so that it's there when Canadians need it in the future. Economic Action Plan 2012 takes action to create jobs now and provide more opportunities to Canadians. To create jobs now, we'll extend our 1-year hiring credit for small businesses, a practical, proven measure which encourages businesses to hire more workers. For example, Rick and Susan Lloyd in my riding of Simcoe-Grey can utilize this program for their small business, Smart Flowers, and continue to grow their business. We will make new investments in local infrastructure through the Community Infrastructure Improvement Fund. Already, our government has made significant investments in infrastructure, particularly in my riding of Simcoe-Grey, where mayors in my riding, like Mayor Linda Collins and Mayor Sandra Cooper in Collingwood, have praised our government for helping create opportunities in their municipalities and for our constituents in Simcoe-Grey. Moreover, we'll provide more opportunities to Canadians. We'll continue to help older workers transition to new jobs and new opportunities. One way we're going to achieve this is through the government's support of the Third Quarter Project, an innovative approach to help employers find experienced workers who are over the age of 50 who want to utilize their skills still in the workforce. We are increasing funding for skills training and career experiences for young Canadians and for Canadians with disabilities. This is building on investments our government has made already in my riding. For example, most recently I announced an almost $500,000 announcement for Trax Employment in Collingwood, where more than 40 students will benefit from an initiative to provide them the skills they need in order to enter into the workforce, supported by the government's youth employment strategy. Our government is also making improvements to the EI program to ensure that it's fair, continues to meet the needs of Canadians, and is responsive to local labour market demands, both now and in the future. Our focus is on the long-term prosperity of Canadians. As we face unprecedented labour shortages, it'll be critical that we work directly to help Canadians find available jobs more quickly. We're providing support to Canadians to help them find those jobs through more timely and relevant labour market information, as well as earlier access to skills training and job searches. With our government's focus on jobs and economic growth, we'll also introduce changes on how to calculate EI benefits to better align them with local labour market conditions. Mr. Speaker, Canadians want to return to work, and we're enhancing the tools to support them in doing so. Budget 2012 presents itself as a historical opportunity for Canadians. It allows us to position our country in a way that will protect and strengthen the Canadian economy and continue our job creation agenda. Economic Action Plan 2012 will help create high-value and good-paying jobs by investing in entrepreneurship, innovation, and world-class research. It supports jobs and growth through responsible resource development. And if it invests in training, infrastructure, and opportunities to create jobs while providing new opportunities to young Canadians, seniors, new immigrants, and Canadians with disabilities. These are the types of initiatives that our country needs, and they will continue to ensure the long-term prosperity of the Canadian economy. I'm proud to be part of a government that's delivered for Canadians, and I would like to commend the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance for tabling this historic budget. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Halifax West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask my honourable colleague her thoughts on the performance of the Finance Minister in the fall of 2008, at a time when the government had been in this deficit, had received, of course, it had inherited a budget back in 2006, a budget surplus in 2006 of $13 billion, and it put Canada in deficit by the beginning of that 2008-9 fiscal year. This recession, of course, as we all know, started in the fall of 2008. By September, October, it was pretty clear we were in it. But in November, when it was very, very clear, the finance minister brought forward a fiscal budget update suggesting that nothing was wrong, that there was no need for any stimulus measures, no need to react to this global recession that was developing. What sort of a finance minister is it who fails to recognize a problem and has to be forced into taking the measures that he now claims so much credit for?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, you know, this finance minister did such a fabulous job that in 2009 he was voted as the best finance minister in the world. His decisions and those of this Prime Minister were to inject $63 billion of targeted stimulus money through Canada's Economic Action Plan to protect Canada during the worst global recession since the 1930s. And what did that do? That put Canada on a footing that in the last number of months, we've had a record number of net new jobs, over 690,000 net new jobs. Canada has been #1 with the strongest fiscal position in the G7, reported by Fitch Ratings, Moody's, Standard & Poor. This government has been focused on jobs and the economy and the long-term prosperity of this country. This finance minister, the finance minister of this government, has been the leadership to make that happen.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Bonavista, Gander, Grand Falls, Windsor.
I'm finding this quite amusing when the fact that, you know, the basis by which that the finance minister receives this award was things like strong banking system, good fiscal structures, and that sort of thing, set down prior to when he arrived, which was certainly around the time of Paul Martin and Jean Chrétien. I mean, to say that this current finance minister is the best finance minister is hold your applause. To say that he is the best finance minister is the same as say, well, Milli Vanilli won a Grammy, for goodness sake. And that, too, was based on someone else's work. Thank you.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
I'm not really sure if there was a question in that, but that's perfectly fine. It gives me a great opportunity to reiterate what I said before. You know, it wasn't just the Conservatives on this side of the House that stated that the Minister of Finance was the best finance minister in the world. This was an award provided to him by the international community. And that's because this government, our Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, moved forward quickly and effectively to make sure that the Canadian economy was protected in 2009 and have continued to do so. So in Economic Action Plan 2012, we've moved forward with even more initiatives to protect and grow the jobs market in this country. Thank you very much.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank my colleague from Simcoe-Grey for an excellent speech. And I know she's been very supportive of our jobs and growth strategy, particularly with our manufacturing sector. She lives in Ontario as well as I do, and she has automotive interests as I do. And in Ontario, we're getting hit with a double whammy. First, we have the radical Liberal government that put in an energy program with this feed-in tariff where they're actually have solar panels where they're paying, I believe it's 80 cents per kilowatt hour, and when there's excess, they are selling it for 5 cents per kilowatt hour. And how they've come up with a business plan, how that works, I'm not sure, but how it's affecting me, Mr. Speaker, is serious. Our manufacturers, our business community is really concerned about doing business in Ontario because of the cost of energy. And now we have the NDP who wants to bring forth a program where they're having a carbon tax added to the price of energy. And I was wondering if the Parliamentary Secretary could contrast our sensible strategy for jobs and growth and the radical plan that the NDP and the left in this country has, and how it affects her in Ontario and the fears of
Order. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, short answer, please.
Well, I want to thank my colleague from Oshawa for his question. It gives me an opportunity to speak to the manufacturing industry in our country and what the Conservative government has done to support them. You know, since 2006, the Conservative government has proudly supported manufacturing across this country. So whether that be lowering business taxes to 15% or eliminating the job-killing corporate surtax, this government has been focused on aiding the manufacturing company, unlike our opposition colleagues who only want to raise taxes.